Hello, folks. Nice to see us all. We're going to get started right now. Just so that you know, nothing strange is going on. We're in the process of muting most everyone's microphone so that we'll be able to hear everybody a bit better, and there's not too much feedback, so don't be too concerned if you aren't able to get our attention with any noise. Throughout this event, if you have questions, we encourage you to either type them into the screen, in the chat screen on the bottom, or else use the raise your hand item, and then we may be able to take some questions after when we get started with the audio. Okay. First things first, my name is Sean Brilliant. I'm a marine biologist. I work for the Canadian Wildlife Federation, and I have a great pleasure today to sort of bring you guys together and introduce you to the OAR Northwest guys. We've been using them as an opportunity to talk about marine conservation, and I've had a chance to talk to some of these classes here that are participating today, maybe. And it's been a great chance for us to talk about what the ocean's like and the issues surrounding marine ecology and how we affect the oceans and so on. Before we get started, I want to know if people can actually hear me, and here's how I want to test it. If you can hear me, I want to see you put your hands in the air. Hands up. Hands up if you can hear me. Yes. Are they up? Excellent. Wave them like you just don't care. Yeah. Okay, not everyone's waving their hands. That's not a good sign. That's better. That's what I want to see. Yes, now you're hearing me. Good. I'm convinced now. You're not just a figment of my imagination. You guys are there. Okay, folks. We're going to get right into this here. Thanks everyone for coming. We're trying this out sort of for the first time. It looks like we have about 20 to 25 participants on board right now, at least 20 classrooms or so, so this is pretty exciting for us. It's great to have everyone come here and participate in this. All right. What I'm going to do now is have the OAR guys introduced. This five-person team consists of Adam Creek, Jordan Hansen, Marcus Buchanan, Patrick Fleming, and Greg Spooner. Now, they're not all here today, but I'm going to ask Stephanie Popp to introduce them, and then I'm going to let them talk a little bit here and tell you a bit about their experience on this event that they've been going through for the last couple of months. So take it away, Stephanie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Stephanie. I'm from the Canadian Wildlife Federation, and I'm on the communications team. As Sean just said, this is Adam Creek, Patrick Fleming, and Greg Spooner. And we've had a really exciting week down here, and on behalf of everyone at CWF, we're so proud of these guys and what they've accomplished over the past, well, on the water for 73 days. We've learned a lot, and we're really excited to hear what they're going to say today. Wade Leslie, the VP of CWF, also says hello.
Hello. And yeah, I'll introduce myself. My name is Greg Spooner. I'm usually behind the scenes, so you didn't see me in too many photos. I was the guy back in mission control on land, making sure that all of the content and the communications that you all were sending to the guys actually made it to them, so that way they could be inspired and entertained by all of your great stories. So thank you so much for sending those along the way. Yeah, we're excited to answer some of your questions today, and also tell you a little bit about the big capsize. I know that's on everybody's mind, so that way you can get a feel for what's been happening over the last week. Now, you don't see Jordan and you don't see Marcus because the two of them are actually right out the window in front of us, headed out to sea to go bring our rowboat home, and you'll hear more about that here as we go along. So with that, it sounds like it's time to get started.
So just a quick note, we're going to close down a few of the webcams just so that we can bring people up a bit better so you can see them. So if you happen to see your image disappear from the screen, don't panic. We'll try and bring you back online in a few minutes so that you can see what's going on. But I'm going to turn it over to Adam and Pat, and if you guys want to talk a bit about what you guys were seeing and experiencing out there. In the meantime, if anybody has any questions, you can write them down in the chat screen down below or save them till after the talk, okay? Go ahead, guys. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Well, we're really excited to finally talk with you guys and actually see you on a live webcam. It was really difficult for us in the middle of the ocean to do anything like this, because when you're in the middle of the ocean, it's a lot more difficult to communicate than when you're actually on land close to all the communication technology. And really, we're here to talk about the capsize. We're also here to talk about the previous 72 days that we spent on the ocean. And it was an absolutely incredible journey that we had. We saw so many creatures up close. We saw a giant leatherback turtle come right up to our boat. We saw Dorados swimming underneath our boat. We saw dolphins, a super pod of dolphins, jump right over the bow of our boat. We saw a giant right whale jump out of the water and splash down. When we saw that whale, when it splashed down, you could feel it in your chest. It's such a large creature, but you'd feel it when it hit down. And we were over some whales and pilot whales, I believe, and then Jordan jumped in the water. He's actually swimming with the whales in the water, if you can believe that. So we had an incredible experience on there, seeing wildlife firsthand. But one of our big concerns when we were going out is that we knew the ocean is big and the ocean is dangerous. And so we went through a lot of different safety preparations beforehand. We went through the idea of what would happen if our vessel became compromised. We brought a lot of emergency safety equipment aboard. And I thought I would turn it over to Patrick to talk about safety, because Patrick's job, he works as a river raft guide on the Arkansas River, and he also works as ski patrol. So he often works on the other end, actually rescuing people who get themselves into sticky situations for a while. So we might be able to share with you some tips about that, and then also some other ideas. What do you think of that?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, our big joke sometimes is there's nothing funny about safety.
Let's laugh.
But yeah, honestly, it came down to that at the end, that there was nothing too funny about how well prepared we had made ourselves. It was kind of what made us get rescued was because we had prepared for years to do this trip. Asked tons of different people we needed to have on board, consulted anybody we could possibly think of to get ready for this. So definitely everything from really nice working PFDs. I don't know if you guys saw a video of Jordan inflating one in a bathing suit in Senegal. It was pretty hilarious. But everything from PFDs to a life raft, which sound like, okay, great, that's all we need. But, I mean, man, we had a bag full of dry suits. We had a bag full of clothes, of water, of food, of extra materials to contact people, everything from extra radios and satellite phones to what we had. What made or break the difference is we had 4 beacons. So we basically had 4 locator devices, like little mini GPSs, that as soon as things happen, we could press an on button, boom, they send out a signal, and they're telling someone we're pretty much in grave danger. And we turned those on almost as soon as we popped up from underneath the boat. But yeah, there was also a ton of training we did. These guys I wasn't able to do it, sadly, but they spent an entire night out on life rafts already, so they knew what it would feel like, knew how to kind of prepare for that and whatnot. And pretty much every day, just amongst our talk on deck for the crew, there's always, that idea of safety in the back of your head. We really want to make good time. We want to jump in the water, but we also think about safety. And honestly, our last words to each other before the boat turned over was, "Hey guys, the water's getting pretty big. Let's keep safety first." And then we were underwater. Yeah. So.
And one thing that's happening right now is that we are, Jordan and Marcus aren't here right now because they have gone out in a tugboat. And this tugboat is well equipped to actually pull our boat out of the water and pull the water that has actually gone into the vessel to make it so that it wouldn't right itself. And we now have a pitch. It costs a lot of money to rent this tugboat, around $10,000 a day. So we've put a pitch, a fundraiser to see if any of you guys are interested. Any little amount of money that you can that you could raise and contribute to us, we would really appreciate it, so that this boat can continue to go out there and continue to collect scientific data and understand what's happening to our oceans. Right now, one of our biggest concerns is scientific instrumentation that we have on board. We have around $50,000 worth of scientific instrumentation that should be no problem. It's designed to be wet. It's designed to be underwater, but we want to get that back. So if you go on our Facebook site, the OAR Northwest Facebook site, there's a link to Indiegogo. And if you also have questions, feel free to just contact us through the different email contacts you have, and we can we can direct your classroom towards our fundraising. And I think the final pitch before we move on to the questions is that you never know what you learn in school, and you never know when what you learn in school will come in handy. You know, for example, when our boat flipped, we had to leave it out in the middle of the ocean, and it started to drift. Oh, we got a siren in the background. Someone's in trouble. Not us, thankfully. You never know what you'll learn in school will come into handy. And for one example is math. You know, what are one of the the standard math questions? You know, if a train leaves a station at 8 a.m. and it's traveling at 20 kilometers an hour, and the second train leaves this other station and it's traveling in the opposite direction at 30 kilometers an hour, when will those two trains meet up at the same time? We were dealing with that exact same question. If a tugboat leaves San Juan, Puerto Rico, and it can travel at 10 knots, and it's traveling in a northerly direction, and we have a boat that's floating in the middle of the ocean and it's drifting south at 1.5 knots, when will these two vessels meet up at the same point in time? And that was a big question we had to answer, and that's where mathematics comes in handy, and that's where our friends at the Coast Guard, who actually came out and rescued us, they helped us go through all those calculations. And if you're interested in adventure, if you're interested in getting outside and exploring the planet, everything you learn in school comes in handy. Keep studying hard, because the smarter you are, the better you can adventure.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys. So I've just got some notes saying that we're getting a bit stuttery when we're getting your responses, so I'm going to ask you guys to talk a little bit slower to see if that helps to make sure that your message gets through. What I'm going to do now is ask Randy McLeod, if you'd like to sort of take over and try and get some get these guys to answer some questions from our participants. And I want to mention that what we're going to try and do is make sure we capture all of the questions from the participants, so even if we don't get to answering them within this session, we'll try to make sure we get answers to you from the OAR Northwest guys at some point for sure. So please continue to ask the questions even if you have them, and if we don't get to them, you can expect to hear from us. So here's Randy. I'm going to turn it over to you, Randy, to...
Thanks a lot, Sean. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure seeing you again. I can't wait for long enough to see you in person, as it has been a long time. We've got a whole pile of questions that have been rolling by, just in case you haven't been watching them. One that keeps coming up, that I've seen many, many times through all these questions, has to do with the food, Adam. And I think you're the gentleman that knows all about the food that was put on this vessel for the trip. So can you answer all about the food and what your daily meals would look like?
Yes, I'll answer that. I see a question right now. It says, did you lose weight during your trip? And the answer is no. Well, I lost weight because I gained weight purposely, but you lost weight, Marcus gained weight, and Jordan lost a bit of weight. So generally when we were out there, we were burning anywhere between 5,000 and 7,000 calories per day. That's as much as a 4-person family would eat in a day. We ate a very high fat content in our diet. We had a lot of, we had nut butter, we had olive oil, we had coconut oil, and we had cheese. 5% of our calories came from fat. A lot of our calories came from whole grains. We had oatmeal and quinoa every morning. Every evening we had polenta, potatoes, rice, beans. So, healthy food that can last you for the long term. We didn't have a lot of refined food on board. Every lunch we had freeze-dried food. So people would take through a company called Backpackers Pantry, and they took this food and they put it into a giant freezer and lowered the temperature and put a vacuum on this food so it would be dry and it would rehydrate very quickly when we would add boiling water. And what I had to do when I was planning the food is I created giant spreadsheets calculating calorie content and the amount of food that would be required. And we ended up spending one day. We had 12 volunteers and all of our crew and Greg as well. And we all went into this to a school gym, and we packed food for 100 days into. We all packed food into. We all packed food into individual portions so that we could eat it throughout the day. And Pat was just whispering that the favorite food we had on board, that Pat's favorite food and my favorite food, were actually gummy berries. Yes, the little sugar sweet snack. So we certainly had that as part of our diet, and we also had I had bars. We had these Edge Food Energy bars, as well as coconut bars and other food, nuts and cereal, granola, things like that that we could snack on through the day. So half of our calories, so about 3,000 of our calories of the day required cooking and boiling water. The other half we could just eat automatically.
Perfect, Adam. Another question that I'm seeing rolling through here, and I know, Patrick, you are the master of the water. So the question was being asked, what was the temperature of the water, and did it hurt when you flipped over, Patrick, and ended up in the water?
So first off, the temperature of the water was, well, it felt different at different times, but for the most part it was between 76 and 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Sorry, we were taking scientific measurements in Fahrenheit, so I don't have the Celsius.
Slow down.
But so 76 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit, which is decently warm for going for a swim. Felt a little bit cold in the middle of the night. And then when we did flip over, I don't know, it happened so fast that it didn't really hurt. But when I got in the life raft, quite a bit later, I felt, I kind of feel like there's a little bit of a sting on my side. I don't really know what's going on. I'll check it out a little bit later. Shouldn't be too big a deal. And then we got on the boat and started changing into different clothes, and that's when I noticed I had a pretty decent chunk of skin missing and quite a large bruise forming on my side. It's healed up pretty well, so I'm pretty happy about that. And honestly, I don't know what really caused that. That whole 4 hours there in the water, and when the boat flipped, I'm not sure if it happened when the boat went over or just when we were trying to rewrite the boat with a bunch of ropes and stuff. Yeah, that's my little war wounds, my story to tell.
So the water temperature was
perfect. I thank you. And gentlemen, and I know if Jordan was here, he'd be, okay. I know if Jordan was here, he'd be talking with his very slow drawl from the south. So if we could just get you to talk a little slower, it might slow down the breaking up, just as an idea. Now, Greg, being the brains of the operation from the land, the design of the boat and the training, which I know you were involved with, how did all that take place? How long was the training? And how in-depth did you get involved in it from being the man on the ground?
That's a great question. And the trip itself was 3 years in the making. And that involved everything from trying to put the right equipment on the boat, trying to put the right equipment in the players. And in regard to, well, let's talk about the sea survival training. There was 5 of us that spent a couple days to make sure that if something like this happens in the middle of the ocean, that we could essentially save ourselves. And one of the best things that we did was we actually put on these gummy suits, these neoprene things, which are really hard to walk around in. You can't move at all. And we had to squeeze 5 of us, and we're big guys, into a very small life raft and sleep the entire night. And it was the most uncomfortable night you have ever slept. And that was on water that was flat as can be. The temperature was nice, was a very nice warm temperature. We could only imagine what it would be like in the middle of the ocean. Unfortunately, they got to experience that.
Have them come up and ask
Without
it.
that training and
All right.
preparation, we could not have gotten those guys home.
Thanks for that, Greg. We seem like a lot of people are asking questions in the text box. Luckily, I have a class here with me, and one of them would love to ask a question at this point, so I'm going to give them the microphone.
What is it? You start doing that.
Hi, I'm
Finley.
Finley.
Hi, Finley.
When the waves that... Hi. When the waves that flipped you over hit you, did you have your sea anchor in the water?
So, when the waves were hitting us, it was just during a shift change. And so, when I say shift change, I mean Adam and I were just stopping rowing and going inside the cabin to go to sleep. And Marcus and Jordan were coming outside to start rowing. And it had only been for about half an hour that the water had just started to get a little bit rougher, and the sea got a little bit bigger. And so we literally were talking about putting the sea anchor out in case it got any bigger. We said, okay, if it gets any bigger, we probably should throw the sea anchor out. And about 1 minute later, we were upside down in the water. So the sea anchor wasn't out yet, but we were already talking about doing it if the sea got any rougher.
Great question, great answers. Now, if some of the people out there in the viewing area have questions, just raise your hand so we can see who it is and we can call upon you. Just luckily, I have one more question here since I'm waiting for other people from outside to send us some questions so that we are, pardon me, raise their hands so we can answer a question. Yep.
Well, hi, it's Cindy from Regina. How are all of you? Our hearts were pounding when we heard about you in Winnipeg on our way back from the Caribbean, actually. But I have two students who've been contacting you for some time about their PowerPoint they were working on comparing you with One Direction. Do you remember the group, the questions they asked you?
Yeah.
Now remember, it's going to take a bit of lead time here.
You girls need to come in. You girls come here.
Come on, we don't have a
What's
lot
your
of time.
question?
So it's so they can see. Go ahead, ask your question.
The question.
Okay.
Okay. How powerful was the wind when you were on the boat?
How powerful? Well, the wind, it was actually pretty amazing. The wind in the ocean could go from being dead calm to absolutely no wind, which is very, very hot in the middle of the day, to it could just be blowing 25 or 30 knots. So, I mean, making huge waves that made it almost impossible for us to row. And we had absolutely everything in between. And what we were talking with our weather people and our navigator about is very interesting that the section of ocean we cross has winds called the trade winds on them. And they should typically be blowing from the northeast, giving us really nice push over towards the Caribbean. And during our entire trip, we never actually saw true trade winds. So it was pretty frustrating. We saw winds from literally every direction, but not really the ones we had wanted and hoped for the entire time.
I believe you have a question that you would like to ask, so if you could reactivate your camera for us, and then open up your mic, which I believe it is open. We can get that one asked as well.
Okay, now can you hear us?
Are you there, Miss Warren? Because I see you with your microphone open.
So your journey months to prepare for and for, you probably tried to foresee any difficulties you might encounter. Overall, is there anything you would do differently if you were to plan for another trip?
Okay. Here's one question that we've heard. We're not getting the other questions coming in, but we have one question that says, "How do you get water?" Does one of you guys want to answer that question? How did we get fresh water on the rowboat? Because here we were in the ocean in salt water.
That's an excellent question that we get all the time, so thank you for that. To make fresh water, we have a machine that actually sucks the seawater up into the boat, and then it pushes it through some filters that make sure that there's no junk in it, no seaweed or other things that you don't want in your drinking water. And then it takes the seawater and it forces it really hard through a special type of filter that separates the seawater from the fresh water. We get to drink the fresh water. And I'll tell you what, it is the best tasting water you will ever drink in your entire life.
All right. Great. Now, Amanda has just opened everything up. So, Amanda, I understand you have a question as well. Amanda, are you able to open your mic and talk?
Hi, Andrew.
Oh, in that case, Andrew, I see you're there. What is your question for the board?
I think his microphone is muted.
Are you asking about why the boat did not self-right, Andrew? If so, nod your head.
His question, he typed it in as well.
That's the question. So, why did the boat not
capsize and was meant to right itself back up?
Yeah.
That's another great question. Basically, it's a really bad timing on the wave's part. So the boat designed itself right because the bow and the stern compartments are giant balloons, basically, when the doors are closed, they're filled with air. And they keep the boat afloat and help it spin back over. But because, like we talked about earlier, we were doing a shift change and the door was open and I was climbing into the cabin, the wave hit and a lot of seawater came inside the cabin while the door was open. So it weighted down and made it like this big weight, almost a sea anchor on the back of our boat. So when we tried to flip the boat back over, the stern stayed under the water and wouldn't let the boat rewrite itself. So, in short, the answer to your question is the door to our stern cabin was open and that thing filled with water, and that's why we didn't rewrite.
Hey, Adam, you were in the cabin when all of this was happening. Can you describe what it was like?
Okay, I now
can you hear me now?
Amanda is ready.
Yes?
Great,
Okay.
thank you guys. Amanda, if you'd like to unmute
My
your
name's
microphone.
Emerson. Are you going to do it again?
That would be wonderful now.
Yes.
Are we going to do it again? Well, I won't be doing it again because I've got a wife and a kid at home, and I'm really excited to go home and hang out with them. Jordan most definitely will be out on the water again, and as will Marcus. And Greg says he's going to do it again too. So there definitely will be parts of our crew that will continue to go out and explore these oceans and to share it with classrooms around the world.
Can we ask another question?
Sure.
My name is Kirsten, and I have a question. My question is, why did you start? Why did you do this?
Oh, wow. Why did we do this? Well, we did this adventure for a number of... Okay, so we did this adventure for a number of reasons. First off, everyone involved in this adventure organization loves getting outside, loves being active, and loves being curious and learning new, fascinating things about the planet. That's what motivated us off the start. Then we decided that we wanted to use our curiosity to get us more interested in science, and we wanted to share everything that we were learning with people like you, and hope to inspire you to go outside, to get outdoors, and to explore the great outdoors, and also be curious yourself. That's why we decided to row across the ocean.
Thank you. Will we get another question?
Go right ahead. Yeah, go ahead and ask another question.
Just asking, like, how did you go to the washroom and where? The question was, how did you go to the washroom and where?
Well, so it's a good question. A lot of people ask that too. So I'll start off by saying the day that the boat flipped over, Marcus was actually using the bathroom when the boat flipped over. So he was honestly caught with his pants down. And so what he was doing was, we use a 5-gallon bucket. It's a bucket that has a toilet seat on top, and when we need to use the bathroom, we pick that bucket up, we fill it with a little bit of seawater, we put the toilet seat on top of that, and you sit it down in the middle of the deck of the boat, you sit down and you do what you need to do, and then you dump that overboard because we're in the middle of the ocean, and that's okay. Basically, the fact is that, you know, there's hundreds of people out there and other animals that do the same thing in the ocean, and so we don't put too much waste in there ourselves. And we put some more seawater in there, we clean that out, and then it's ready to go for the next person if they need to use it.
But to be clear, it wasn't using the washroom that caused the capsizing, right?
No, it's not. Jordan was steering the boat from the bow.
Just a coincidence. Just a coincidence.
Bad timing.
I see a hand raised by Audrey Warren. Audrey, do you have a question that you can ask? Can you activate your microphone and ask a question? No.
We have another question. We can have another.
Please go ahead. And I see Andrew Gorin is next, but go ahead, Amanda.
What was the coolest thing the crew has seen on their expedition?
Coolest thing. That's different. Well, One thing that was remarkably cool was a Moonbow. If you have not heard what a Moonbow is, you have to go on the internet and search it out. And a Moonbow is a rainbow that is created by the light of the moon shining through rain in the middle of the night. That was really cool. The wildlife that we saw out there also was gorgeous. And seeing a large leatherback turtle or whales up close or flying fish flying, that was absolutely incredible.
Actually, we also saw flying squid. I didn't even know squid could fly. I still don't even really believe that squid can fly. But I still saw it, and it was amazing.
Okay, thanks very much. Flying squid are something that's debated even among marine biologists. Only recently did they start to agree that they actually can fly, even though people who've spent time on the ocean saw them flying all the time. It's only something that's recently understood. Okay, another quick question here. Andrew, do you have a question? Andrew Gorin. Are you asking how the squids fly?
Yeah, how do the squids fly, Sean?
Well, the squids fly with jet propulsion. They've got little water jets. Did you guys see any land on the boat? Did they actually hit you?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, three of them hit me. One in the side of the head, one in the shoulder, one in the knee, and then we had 3 on board. And then we took them, and we have a big water well. We placed them in the water well. And it looked like the squids suck water in the front of them, and then they have this parasolic wave that's squishing down the length of their body, shooting water out of the back. And when we put them in the water well, they inked everywhere. They spat out this black, stinky ink. And then after they were in the water well for a while, we took them out. We cut them up and ate them, and they were very tasty.
Yep, I agree. Yes, they use jet propulsion. It's amazing to see. Thanks very much, Andrew. Okay, Audrey Warren, Cookstown Public School. I see your video online. Do you guys have audio? It looks like your audio is on. Can you make a sound?
Okay. Yes.
Hi, I can hear you.
If you were able to do this
You have a
again,
question?
how would you prepare differently? What would you do different when you were preparing?
How would you prepare differently?
Well, that's a great question. It's one we honestly asked ourselves as soon as we got out of the life raft and onto the boat. There wasn't anything major that we would change. It was all small things. You know, from a couple extra pieces of gear we might have carried for emergency equipment to we would have done a couple more tests on our wind turbine before we left shore to really make sure it was working. And the other big one was we kind of thought the satellite communication we would have had with you guys would have given us a better opportunity to send more emails, to send more pictures, more videos, and maybe even do a live conference like this one. But because we just didn't really know what it would be like in the middle of the ocean to get that satellite footage or that satellite feed for the internet, we were a little bit disappointed with how little we were able to get out to you guys because our internet was just so darn slow. So that's something else we would kind of look into to see if we could make that any faster.
But they did get all of your messages, and they were wonderful, and thank you so much.
It was true. Greg hand-typed everything back up to send to us in text emails, which was the best thing we got. It was so awesome to hear, I mean, everybody's different voices and news from land and everything from, you know, silly pieces of news to just great questions that would make us think about how cool it was for us to be out there and experiencing all those things.
Thanks very much, Cookstown. I appreciate it. So I think we're gonna have to wrap up the questions here. I think a lot of people had scheduled about a half hour or so to be able to jump on and join us, and I know we're losing a few people now, so we're running out of time. I think we'll do one more question if we can. Mary Scott, I see your video up now. Do you have audio? No? Did I lose audio?
We think we have audio, but we're not sure.
It looks like Greg has a question. That's interesting.
That's us here in North Bay on a snow day.
Oh, I can hear you now. Is this Mary Scott? Wonderful. If you have a question, we'll take your question. I think we may make this the last one before we have to go. Can you get a question up, Mary Scott?
You have extra clothes on the boat.
We were wondering if you had your life jackets on when you jumped, and we were wondering whether you had any free time at all, or if it was all work and no play.
That is fun.
Okay, first off, it seems like you wanted to know if we had extra clothes. If we get our boat back, there's still clothes there that I haven't worn yet. So I'm pretty excited to get some more clean clothes back from our boat. So we did have extra clothes. In the water, our life jackets, it was quite cold after the couple hours of working. But initially, when we jumped in the water, you know, we had so much adrenaline going, and we knew we had to do so much in a little amount of time that we didn't start feeling cold until after about 4 hours of trying to get our boat back over. And then we all realized we were quite tired and quite hungry and cold. Adam and I had been up since 2 in the morning rowing and hadn't been able to go to sleep or eat breakfast or anything. So we had other emergency clothes as well. I know some of the pictures look like we didn't even have a t-shirt on when we got on the boat. And those emergency clothes we kind of were keeping dry just in case we had to spend a night out there. We knew once the Coast Guard came and we could talk to them on the radio that a boat was coming very soon. And so we decided not to open some of those waterproof bags just in case something happened and we had to spend the night out. We would have dry clothes to wear then. And there was definitely
thank you very much.
Plenty of time for play on the boat. It's definitely a lot of work for sure. Rowing 12 hours a day is, but I mean, even when rowing, we were joking with each other, singing, laughing, and then about once a week when we cleaned the boat, if the water was nice, we would all jump in together and go for pretty much a big group swim in the middle of the ocean, which is pretty amazing to do with a dark blue ocean and about, I don't know, 3,000 meters of water below you.
So we think, you want to sing the song as we sign out? Sure. So we have a sea shanty, Sean, and before we sign out, we thought that we would sing this sea shanty for you guys. It's called All Hail to the James Robert Hansen. How does that sound? Okay, you ready?
Yes. Yes, I want to hear it.
All hail to the James Robert Hansen. She rose from sea to sea to sea to sea. All hail to the James Robert Hansen. It's a rower's life, yes, a rower's life for me.
Hey guys, we have email a lot now, so if you have any more questions, email them to us, send them to our website, and we'd love to answer more.
Go on an adventure and be safe.
Yes. Thanks very much for your time, guys. Thanks for everyone who's logged in here. As I said, we'll make sure we have all of your questions, and we'll try and make sure we get back to everyone so that you get answers as well. And listen, I really want to say thanks. We're spread across this country. You guys are currently in Puerto Rico. We've been taking questions from across Canada. I'm currently in Halifax, Nova Scotia at the moment, and the fact that we have the technology to do this and to bring everybody together and have a discussion like this is just amazing. So thanks everyone for participating, and we're going to let everyone go now. And you can be sure you'll hear from us more, and please check out our websites as well so you know what's going on. And if you have any questions, keep them coming. Thanks very much, guys. We'll let you go now. Can everybody wave? Thank you, everyone.